Hi, first grade. It is time to read some Magic Tree House. When we last left Jack and Annie, they were just on their way to go back to their tree house, and they saw a family of lions sleeping underneath it. Let's see what happens. As they walked back towards the treehouse, they saw the wildebeests in the distance. There was still some crossing the river. They saw a family of zebras grazing together. They saw lone giraffes walking from tree to tree, eating the leaves. And they saw a bunch of lions sleeping in the shade of a tree. The same tree the tree house was in. Whoops, said Annie. Jack's heart gave a jump. So there they are, he thought. Jack and Annie crouched down in the tall grass. There was a big lion, 3 lionesses, and a bunch of cubs. Those are the lion babies. I think they're sleeping, whispered Annie. Yeah, said Jack, but for how long? He pulled the Africa book from his pack and opened it. He found a picture of lions sleeping under a tree. So here is the treehouse tree. The ladder's right here. Here's Jack and Annie. And they're behind the tall grass. And right here is the lion and the lionesses and the cubs. Okay, he pulled out the Africa book. He found a picture of lions sleeping under a tree. He read in a whispery voice. After a pride of lions has eaten, they rest for a few hours. What did they have for lunch? Annie asked. Don't ask, said Jack. He kept reading. Sensing that the lions are not hunting, the other animals graze nearby. If they can graze, then we're safe, said Annie, and she started to stand up. Wait! Jack pulled her down. Not so fast. He peered around. The words in the book seemed true. The zebras and giraffes didn't seem to be bothered by the lions at all. They might be safe, but I'm not sure about us, said Jack. We need a plan. What if we wait till they leave, said Annie. That could take hours, said Jack. Plus, they might be hungry again by then. Oh, right, said Annie. So here's the plan. We'll tiptoe, said Jack. Tiptoe? Yes. That's your plan? Yeah, tiptoe to the rope ladder. Very quietly. Good plan, Annie teased. Just do it, said Jack. He stood up slowly. Annie stood up with him. They began tiptoeing through the grass very slowly. The lion flicked his tail. Jack and Annie froze. When his tail was still again, they moved. Suddenly, they heard high-pitched laughter. What animal was laughing earlier in the story? Jack and Annie stopped. The hyenas were back. Oh no, they're going to wake up the lions. They were standing off to the side watching Jack and Annie. Jack and Annie made silent monster faces and shook their fists, but the hyenas only laughed more. The big lion stirred lazily, so he's starting to move around. He opened his golden eyes. Jack felt the hair on the back of his neck rise. That's like when you get the chills because you're scared. But he did not move an inch. The lion lifted his head and yawned. His giant teeth gleamed in the sunlight. The lion turned his head and looked around sleepily. Jack held his breath as the lion's gaze rested on him. The lion sat straight up. His piercing yellow eyes met Jack's. The lion is looking right at Jack. Jack's heart raced. His mind raced. He remembered something that he had read. Lions avoid giraffes. That means they stay away from them. Jack looked around. There was a giraffe walking toward the tree that the magic treehouse was in. Suddenly, he had a new plan. Get under that giraffe, he said to Annie. Now you're the one who's nuts, said Annie. But Jack grabbed her hand and pulled her over to the giraffe and underneath it. The giraffe's legs were so long that Jack and Annie could stand up underneath it. Jack's head barely brushed the giraffe's golden belly. The tall creature froze for a few seconds. Then she moved slowly towards the tree. Jack and Annie walked in the same rhythm of the giraffe. They got closer and closer to the treehouse, and closer to the pride of lions. A pride is what you call a big group or family of lions. The big lion had stood up. He watched them moving under the giraffe. When the rope ladder was just a few feet away, Jack and Annie dashed out from under the giraffe and to the rope ladder. Annie scrambled up first. Jack followed right behind her. As they climbed, the lion growled and leaped up at the ladder. The hyenas laughed. Jack climbed faster than he had ever climbed. He leaped after Annie into the treehouse. So they were standing up underneath the giraffe, because lions stay away from giraffes, until the giraffe got close to the tree. Then they ran out and climbed up the ladder, and the lion is starting to roar at them. They made it into the treehouse. Annie had already unrolled the scroll. The riddle was gone. In its place was one shimmering word: honey. Jack grabbed the Pennsylvania book. He opened it and found the picture of the Frog Creek woods. I wish we could go there, he said as fast as he could. Just then, the giraffe stuck her head through the window. Bye, honey, said Annie, and she kissed the giraffe on the nose. The wind started to blow. The leaves started to shake. The treehouse started to spin. It spun faster and faster and faster, and then everything was still. Absolutely still. Chapter number 10 is called After Lunch. And when we finish chapter number 10, we will be done with Magic Treehouse number 11. We read 11 chapter book stories this school year so far. I hope we can finish number 12 too. Thanks for reading with me, first grade.